In about 10 days, the state's no cash bail law will go into effect. This after state legislators passed the Safety Act in early 2021 during a lame duck session before they ended that General Assembly to open the door for a new General Assembly. And the measure was jam-packed with all kinds of things, regulating police and even bringing about criminal justice reforms. But then there were several different iterations brought forward to amend it further. You had people, as we got closer to the Pretrial Fairness Act portion of the Safety Act going into effect, states' attorneys across the state sued to try to block implementation. In the Kankakee County courts with a consolidated caseload, they did indeed block that law for the 60-some-odd counties that had sued the state, saying that no cash bail in the Safety Act violates the Constitution on several grounds, not just separation of powers by trying to regulate the judiciary, but also violating the Victims' Bill of Rights in the state Constitution. So you've got those arguments that were heard. The Kankakee County judge blocked the law from being implemented, and then the Illinois Supreme Court stepped in and said, we can't have chaos with some counties implementing no cash bail and other counties not. So they put a hold on the law while it made its way through the Illinois Supreme Court. So again, in the spring, they heard arguments about this. And then just a handful of weeks ago, the Illinois Supreme Court announced their decision in the case upholding the Pretrial Fairness Act, saying that September 18th, you're going to have no cash bail statewide. And just recently, the Supreme Court's also announced that they are going to be allowing for the remote hearings as part of all of this. So if somebody's arrested and, it's a first offense and then it's a nonviolent crime, they get processed through the jail, then they're out. And they're given here's when you got to come back to court. Well, there's some remote hearings that are going to be allowed. But regardless of the Supreme Court upholding that in the state of Illinois, you've got now 10 days until it goes into effect, and a lot of pieces are coming together. Some counties have already put all the pieces together they need to do no cash bail, but there's still substantial concern that it could bring about chaos. Earlier this week, I talked with Ken Good. He is a attorney. He's also of the Professional Bondsmen of Texas, and he has his own podcast as well. We talked about the end of cash bail in Illinois, and ultimately he said that, listen, Illinois, you're going to see chaos, but he says you've already seen some chaos in the courts because the state has gotten rid of the private sector bondsmen that other states may have. So here's just a little bit of what Ken Good had to tell me of his concerns moving forward with no cash bail in the state of Illinois.
It's a misnomer to say that Illinois is the first state that got rid of this statewide because they got rid of the private surety system years ago. So this is, you're not the first statewide court to get rid of the private industry. Your problem started in Illinois when you got rid of the private industry, and now you're just getting rid of cash bonds or percentage bonds. And what you're really doing, what Illinois is doing is, their courts were relying upon, I believe, a lot of the failures to appear for this money for court operations. Now they're not going to have it. They're going to have complete chaos, which they were already having. They were already having to discount crime, discount punishments to get people to come to court. And so now it's going to be even worse. The problem with these types of changes, they create chaos. Through chaos, you have decriminalization because nobody is coming to court. If you look in California, a system such as this for misdemeanor courts has an 80% failure to appear rate. And in Harris County misdemeanor courts, the failure to appear rate on using this system is 80%. Your criminal justice system will collapse on an 80% failure to appear rate unless you're just dismissing cases en banc, in mass. And that's what Harris County is currently doing on misdemeanor cases. In August of last year, I looked at their report of dispositions. 90% of them were just dismissed. So that's where you're going.
And Ken Good saying that we already have a level of chaos. Things are going to get more chaotic. And he says that people just aren't going to appear for their court hearings, and that's going to cause things to compound even further. He went on to talk about remote hearings that the Illinois Supreme Court announced are going to be allowed to maybe help alleviate some of the concerns, having two-way audio video for people to have hearings about their status in the court system. He says that that's really not going to change much here when it comes to his concerns of how Illinois is going to be impacted by the end of cash bail.
No, because the problem is not remote hearings. The problem is lack of accountability. If you don't have, people are being released for free essentially, then and no ability to hold them accountable if they don't show up for court, and who's going to go get them? I mean, let's just talk about that for just a second. If somebody doesn't go to court, you issue a warrant. Well, in Chicago, where does that warrant go? It goes down to the warrant division and joins the other thousands, tens of thousands of warrants waiting to be served. So they have to commit another crime to come back into the system. So you're going to have people not show up for court, and you don't have the manpower or the ability to do anything about it. And the worst thing is your jails are going to fill up. They already are full because you already have chaos. But you're going to fill up with the worst of the worst. And so, the career criminals, low-level career criminals are going to see this as a green light just to do whatever they want because you can't do anything about it because you already have chaos and your jails are already full.
So coming back, we'll hear what his suggestion is and how to address this. Also, he talks about the political considerations. He also advocates for the private bond industry, which Illinois does not have, and also reacts to those who say, listen, there are other conditions other than just cash bail that can be surety. Well, he also pokes some holes in that as well. So we'll get to more from Attorney Ken Good, criticizing the state preparing to enter into no cash bail statewide. He says that it's going to lead to chaos in our court system. So stay tuned. More on that coming up. So, set to talk with the ACLU of Illinois later on this morning after the program to discuss their side of the Pretrial Fairness Act set to go into effect in just about 10 days. So we'll share that with you Monday morning. But also we're going to have to revisit some of the debate here from Ken Good, an attorney and an advocate for the private bond industry, which Illinois does not have and has not had for quite some time. But Good looking at Illinois preparing to end cash bail altogether, saying it's going to create chaos, that it could lead to an exorbitant amount of people not showing up for court dates. He says that the remote hearings are not really going to be efficient or effective. And he says that ultimately you're going to lead to packed jails even more so than they are now. So you've got no cash bail set to go into effect statewide. What could possibly be done about this? Again, Attorney Ken Good talking about this issue.
So what is the fix? I mean, the fix is to realize what works and what does not work. What you're currently doing was not working, and so now you're doubling down. This is going to make it even worse, but you're hearing it's going to make it better. I mean, common sense would say you release more criminals, you're going to have more crime, but we've been in this period where we've been told, if we release more criminals, we'll be safer, and that's silly.
And he also talked about the private industry. He's on the board for a Texas organization representing bondsmen, and he says that Illinois doesn't have that in place across the states. It's led to a certain level of chaos, but he says there's a place for that private industry, and it's to get those who are accused of crimes to actually show up to court.
The private industry does so much more than just bail people out of jail. They remind people to go to court, and the most important thing that they do that even the criminal justice system doesn't do is when someone doesn't show up for court, they have a reason to go find them and get them back as quickly as possible. Y'all now have a system that's going into effect in 12 days where if somebody doesn't show up, all you can do is issue a warrant. Nobody's going to look for these people. And if nobody does, they have to commit another crime or voluntarily come back on their own before they'll come back. And you already are finding in Illinois, as crime is going up, that the reason why they're coming back into the system is because they're committing another crime. And you are getting overwhelmed. in your system, chaos is being created. You're having to discount crime, and you're going to end up dismissing cases to prevent the collapse or to hide it. And that's just a fact. That's what's happened everywhere this type of thing has been tried. And so now we're just going to be into a period where we're going to blame everything but reality on why crime is going up, and in Illinois continuing to go up because it's been going up since you did this in the first place.
So again, Ken Good, an attorney specialist in the bond space, an advocate for the private industry. But those who advocate for the Pretrial Fairness Act say that, hey, there are already other conditions that a judge can put on a criminal defendant. Again, criminal defendants are innocent until proven guilty of the crime that they're having to defend against, right? So you have that presumption of innocence until proven guilty. But when it comes to that process of having to show up to court hearings and whatnot, there's concern that these criminal defendants just aren't going to show up. So judges, they put conditions on. Before the Pretrial Fairness Act, a condition could be a monetary condition, saying, okay, there's $200,000 bail. The bond is 10%. So you have to pay that in order to get out of jail. Well, with that going by the wayside, no longer having a monetary surety, the surety could be, well, you got these different provisions. You can't talk to so-and-so. You can't go around this area. If you're found to have violated those conditions, you can be brought back in. But is that enough to actually get people into court? So are those enough? Here's Ken Good saying, quite frankly, no, it's not.
No. What's the incentive for these people to go to court? I mean, you've got conditions on them. So you're saying, well, you can't be around somebody. Well, I mean, how many cases have we seen in the last 3 years, 4 years where somebody on a family violence charge was arrested and immediately let out for free in Harris County, and then was told don't go around their wife, and within hours. I mean, I'm thinking of one case where they were killed her, stabbed her 30-something times so no other man could raise his child that she was pregnant with, and so that wasn't much of an incentive there. I mean, he should never have been released. So I mean, conditions of bail is not the same as someone looking over their shoulder. And y'all having a pretrial services department, great. That doesn't. I mean, the failure to appear rates on those two different systems are vastly different, and that's not just in Illinois; it's everywhere. I mean, when the private industry has a appearance rate of 10%, 90% or more, and these types of simple releases have an 80% failure to appear rate, or let's just be nice, 50%.
So again, highlighting some of the concerns there are. We'll have to talk more about this in the days ahead.
From the Fly SPI